noticeable grey hairs in my locks too since this
yeah,
lockdown started.
I usually have short hair, and I have decided I shall grow it now.
Yes.
Because this is the longest it has been in about 10 years.
Wow, okay.
And maybe cut it for summer. We'll just see how it goes until September, and then we'll see. It's only got another month to go.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Georgina Read, welcome to Life in a Garden Online. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I stalked you. You're one of the people that got stalked because Alison recommended you, and like, oh, look there. There's a lady that we can speak to about chickens.
Yes, well, I've just decided to run some chicken workshops, which I put out there, and then I think that is how then your friend Alison saw me as well.
Yeah, she did. That's exactly how she saw you.
Okay.
Okay, so we were talking just before we started about where you live, and I find that completely fascinating. You live in an apartment block and you keep chickens.
Yes, that's right.
How did you get that right?
I live in an apartment block. It's only 9, but nonetheless, we are an apartment block in Northcliffe. But I'm on the ground floor, so I have access to a small garden. And then the complex, the Body Corporate rules, it's a pet-friendly complex. So, somebody's got a dog upstairs. No garden. There's a dog living upstairs. There's a cat lives one door down, and she sits on her balcony and peers down into
Takes
my
out
garden.
the chickens.
Exactly.
There's takeaways.
So actually, I think of all the I think every single unit in this complex has an animal, a cat or a dog, and then I have the 2 silky chickens at the moment.
Okay, so tell us about keeping chickens. What are silkies in particular?
So silkies, I wonder how I can.
Screen share. I've opened it up.
Straight into the most important question there.
Are they noisy?
So actually, when it comes to chickens, there are a whole range of breeds, and different breeds have different characteristics. And silkies are not noisy. So if you are looking for a chicken that is on the quieter side, silky is your breed, hands down. But they are quite notorious actually for being a good pet chicken. 1, because of the noise, and 2, because they're so ridiculously cute. I wonder, can I show you a
yes,
picture somehow? How should I go about doing that?
You screen share. So at the bottom of the screen,
share.
you'll see at the bottom of your screen, you'll see, if you move your cursor along, there'll be a share screen in green.
I just want to quickly get a photo up so you don't have to see my entire computer, but let's put Dot and Rusted up. So silkies, they do still, now I can screen share, I think. Sorry guys, going back and forth here a little bit.
Mine talk when I go in to feed them. They go, but they're still scared of me.
So are they? Oh, that's because yours are the rescue ones, hey?
Yeah.
It'll take time for them to realize that actually they love you with all their heart. Can you see that?
Yes. Oh, look at that. Aren't they gorgeous? Are they black?
Yes, so one is black, Dottie is black, and then Russet, she does have, she has some brown coloring here. You can't really see it there. She's got some brown coloring around her neck. I did get her with thinking that she was brown, and then once she was in my box, we sort of realized she wasn't brown. I felt too bad to take her out now, because she came from this cage, and I was like, oh, I can't put you back in there. So I just said, it's fine, I'll keep her.
So now so basically your chickens are domesticated chickens, basically. I mean, they are close to you, you snuggle.
So I have very much, there she is there. You can see the brown on her chest there.
No, the picture has, you have to have a new share. The picture hasn't changed.
Oh, so you stop share and then reshare. Oh, okay.
I haven't mastered that yet either, just by the way. Oh, they're gorgeous.
Russet with her brown feathers there. So yes, so I have chickens very much for pet keeping purposes, and egg laying is a bonus. So what you'll find with silkies are not egg layers. So they're a breed that doesn't make a lot of sound, but they don't lay eggs prolifically. They weren't bred for eggs. They were bred to look pretty little fluff balls, which is exactly what they are. So my one bird is laying. Russet has started to lay, and she lays about once every 2 days.
Okay.
Generally, it's a 24, 25, 26-hour cycle for a chicken to lay an egg. So it's never clockwork day by day. There'll always be a slight delay, and then silkies, this particular breed, they only lay about every 2 days or so. They lay about half of what other breeds will lay.
Is it normal for chickens to lay eggs every day, on average?
So you know what? It's normal because we bred them that way. But no, in the wild, they wouldn't do that. They'd lay their 6 or 7, and then they'd sit on them to hatch them. So, but because chickens have been bred, they're domesticated bred animals, that they will now lay as prolifically. So an egg layer, somebody who's really been bred for laying eggs, will pretty much lay 360 days out of 365 in their peak laying time. Full on.
That's hectic. That's
no, it's full on. So when your friend asked about, or somebody, sorry, a friend or not, I'm not sure, asked about whether the birds make a noise. So you will find even silkies, after they have laid an egg, all chickens like to let you know. And that is rather a noisy affair. So I do have a little recording if you're interested to hear.
Please, absolutely.
What that sounds like. We call it an egg-laying song, but song is slightly generous for the sounds that it makes. It's quite a hard sound, and silkies, my phone's on silent, silkies make a very mild one compared to other ones. Let's see if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I think, hang on, my phone is on. Let's try this. Can you hear that? It's a bit vague. I mean, it's not so loud on here, but she's going, and they like to announce to the world. I like to, my version of it is, I used to have cooks who are far more loud than the silkies are. And especially one, she used to jump up on the table and she'd do the whole head shake and then go, I laid an egg. Just like that. So they do get very vocal. That's their most vocal, is after they've laid an egg and they want to announce it to the world. And sometimes other members of the flock will also, you know, get it. She laid an egg, like this. And then there's a whole orchestra of chicken sounds happening.
So I have to go egg hunting when I go in, because they've got lots of roosts. But the one likes to lay in the corner in the sand.
Yes.
So you've got to go. There's like an upside down wash basket, and then there's a tree, and then you've got to like dig your hand behind the tree. But the most fascinating thing for me was I went into this morning, possibly this morning, maybe yesterday morning. No, it was this morning. The egg, there was an egg, but it was actually soft.
Like so your birds don't have enough calcium.
Okay, so I must up the calcium for them now. Because the first time that's happened, I've never seen that before.
It's kind of freaky. It's almost like it's rubbery. You can tap it,
absolutely,
and the egg, there's no shell. So basically the shell, which is the last thing that forms on the egg, as it's, the day before it's going to be, or rather the few hours before it's going to pop out, is when the calcium calcifies around the egg. So it only gets hard in their little bodies right before they lay it. And then, so what's happened with your birds is with that particular bird, there's insufficient calcium to layer the egg there right at the end. And so they lay a soft egg. So you definitely want to increase that. You can increase that by giving them eggshells to eat.
Yeah, I did think of that, yeah.
So just crush up some eggshell. And then the other one,
what about bone meal?
I've heard of, but none of my birds have ever taken to it, is crushing oyster shell.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but if you can get some oyster shell, here we are in Joburg, so it's not so easy, but the shell of an oyster, crush that up, and that's also full of lovely calcium for them to eat.
I'll give them eggshells, because my dogs get eggs every day, so I'll give them eggshells.
Oh, lucky dogs.
Yeah, we mix it into their food. They're on a raw diet, so they get they get all that kind of stuff.
Okay, all right, great. Yeah, we'll take those shells and just clean them and crush them up and put them there by the feed. The birds will eat it as they need it.
Okay. Colleen wants to know, will they destroy her garden plants?
Colleen, very dependent on your breed. Okay, but chickens are diggers. You're not wrong. That is what they do. So it will depend on your breed, though, that they can be worse or dig more or less. So there's a little bit of environmental factor there, but yes, chickens do dig. So if there's something that you don't want them to touch, then you need to protect it with either some small fencing or not allowing them into that area of the garden, or however you manage to do that. But they will dig. They will look for worms.
What's your love of chickens from? Where does it come from?
Total surprise.
How long have you had chickens for?
So I've been chicken keeping for 4 years, and I started in the spring 4 years ago with some potch cooks. I found a farm in Pretoria North. Wow, it was like going out into the wilderness. I'm trying to find where this lady was who was selling chickens or chicks, and I picked up 3 potch cook chicks. But at the time, I was living in a house with a larger garden, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have fresh eggs? And that was all I knew about chickens, was, wouldn't it be nice to have some fresh eggs? And they can wander around the garden. I sort of had this happy image of egg-laying chickens. And they just turned out to be so much more. They just turned out to be so much more than just working birds.
So tell us about them.
So they're very engaged. They know who you are. You can teach them things. They can tell you how they're feeling. And I just found them so joyful. I think that's the best word that I can describe for chicken keeping for myself, is that they're it's so joyful to have them. At the end of the day, you come home from work, they come over and they're chatting to you, usually, where's my snack? Where's my snack? Where's my snack? That's how the conversation starts. And even though my first birds weren't specifically a pet breed like the Silkies are, they still saw me as their mother. I'm convinced of that.
Yes, well, you look like, you look like a chicken, a rather large one.
There you go. So they look a little bit different to these. This one, uncannily, I must say, my hairstyle is somewhat similar. But whoever had the red hair earlier, she is more has more in common with the
chicken,
with the potch cooks. So let me show you one of them.
What sort of variety of chickens do we have? How many are there? Are there loads?
Whoa, Loads. And they're country dependent. But the South African chicken, the only chicken that we have actually bred in South Africa is the Potch Cook.
So is that what
And
I've got, little brown jobs?
No, you've probably got, they just straight up brown, yours. The Rhode Island Red, I think.
Yeah, they're bred.
So I think the Bush, somebody's saying there, the Bushvelder as well is a South African breed, but I'm not sure what the Bushvelder was. I'm not 100% sure, but you are right about Bushvelder. I just want to make sure I don't say the incorrect thing in terms of history with that bird. But here is a Potch Cook, which looks a lot like a barred rock, Plymouth barred rock. Let's get up Jupiter, and I will show you.
Unfortunately, mine have to stay in the chicken coop, so they've got quite a big area inside there, but my dog likes to eat fresh chicken. So I started off with 5 chickens.
Yes. Oh, yes, you mentioned now you only have 3. Hey?
Now 3, yeah. Although one just vanished.
Oh, that's right. So you didn't find her, hey?
Never found her. Just vanished. No feathers, no trace of it. That's a gorgeous chicken. Mine don't look like that at all.
Well, so yours, I'm sure it sounds like you've got the Rhode Island Red, which is the plain brown one, a very common, if I can call it that, egg-laying bird.
I'm going to have to Google a picture now.
We're quite familiar with. They are usually your meat chickens. And if you find those on the side of the road, often in rural areas, you'll see that plain white bird that is sold for meat. And what's great about the Potch Cook, not only same as the Bushvelder, so because they bred here, they can handle our weather. So you don't need to go around supplementing left, right, and center because of their environment. They just need the basics, which is a wind-free coop and a well-ventilated coop. So they can handle the South African climate, whereas a silky, like you saw there, they're actually bred in China, and those feathers underneath them are down, and it is so cooking hot underneath there. So in summertime, the silky will find it harder. One needs to be more conscious, having more water available for them, and having treats that might be frozen, like a little frozen watermelon or something, just to help the birds stay cool. You can actually see Jupiter here. She's got her mouth open, and it's one of the ways they keep cool. So opening up the mouth, they have a tongue, but they can't stick their tongue out. Okay, so it's a very small tongue, but they can't stick it out and pant like a dog. So to keep cool, they open up the mouth and then lift up their wings. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen. Mine have got their wings are not great at the moment, because when I think, what have I had them? Not even 2 months yet. There were a lot of feathers missing, looking in really bad shape. The one's got very raw down the front. I actually think that the other chickens are still picking her feathers. Anyway, so a lady on Jane's Urban Chicken Group said to give them cat pellets because it's very good. It helps to generate the feathers and help the feathers grow. So in their laying feed and their chicken feed and their whatever, they've got a mixture of cat pellets, and now they're going to get eggshells as well. I just want to go through some questions and comments here.
Sure. Just quickly, I think on that cat pellet, because feathers are protein, basically. They're straight up protein. And your birds would also naturally molt just before winter. So depending on their age and stuff, they could have just had a molt, and then they're taking a bit of time to come through that, but they should be through the molt by now. But feathers are protein. You definitely want to give your birds more protein when they need feathers.
Well, that's probably the cat pellets is the protein then.
Yes, I would think that makes sense to me. Yeah, I've never done that.
Okay,
yes,
so
sorry,
your Jupiter is super cute. What do you feed them in addition to worms and grubs around the garden? You can feed chickens anything, can't you? They pretty much eat anything.
So if you think about a human, if you're talking about food from your kitchen, think about the things that are good for you. Your chicken can have it, except avocado and onion. Okay, avocado and onion, no for chickens. But other than that, from your kitchen, they can have pretty much everything. In terms of the garden, so I planted some Namaqualand daisies. I harvest the seeds every year from the same batch. I started maybe 6 or 7 years ago. But this new apartment I'm in doesn't get enough sunshine, so the daisies are a bit sad. But my chickens are
They love it.
eating. They're enjoying the Namaqualand daisies. Fortunately, not the buds. They're eating the leaves of them. So they will eat grass, happy days from your garden. If you've got green grass, they will happily eat that. Keep it nice and short. I do call them lawnmowers. Pretty much all your herbs. Okay, so they will pick at herbs if they can reach them. They'll eat the leaves of those. And
yeah, they're very prone to like lucerne and all that kind of stuff as well.
And weirdly enough, and I think, I haven't researched this, but I think it's a water thing. I think it's a liquid thing, but they will eat your desert roses.
Well, mouse birds do. I've got a flock of mouse birds that live here, and they have decimated my succulents. Between the luri that eats that like green, thick green leaf one that gets the beautiful purple flowers, and the mouse birds, my succulents are finished. All the echeverrias, they have wiped out the whole lot. So I hope that they have a chance.
That's interesting. Certainly they have made short work. I learned from the first time I lost all my desert roses, so I don't plant those anymore because I don't restrict my chickens. I suppose it's just priorities, but my priority is the birds, and the garden is second, rather than the garden first and the birds second. Maybe there's a space in the middle, I'm not sure. But desert roses, they've certainly cleaned up. And then I do also have a couple of aloes, which the sulkies have taken the bud, not the leaf now, but the bud of the aloe.
That's
so
interesting.
There's definitely something there. But if you can plant herbs, they will happily have a leaf or two of that, and it's so good for them as well. It's really good for them. So I encourage you, if you are gardening, to grow some herbs for the chickens that they're allowed to eat as such.
So I can throw some rosemary stalks in there, because I've got a nice big rosemary bush.
Definitely. And if you want to grow maize, you will have friends for life. The girls love minis. Corn.
Somebody mentioned about giving them fermented foods to help with mites and things like that, and to put apple cider vinegar into their water.
So apple cider vinegar, 100%. I'm very pro that. It's effective. I have a number of ceramic dishes around my garden that I have filled with water, and one of them I put apple cider vinegar in.
Just pure apple cider vinegar.
Drink that, and I think it's great. No, sorry, I put a teaspoon in, not pure. It's a bit. So definitely mix it with some water, otherwise they won't take it, but they still take it merrily. So they have no problem. They have no problem eating that. In terms of mites and stuff, I am more of a fan of the diatomaceous earth.
Okay.
I never say it right. You heard of that?
Diatomaceous or dichotomous or something.
Something like that. There's a D at the front of the word. That I put just a little bit directly on them, and then I put in their sand bath, or where they're having a sand bath, and I'm happier with that. I feel comfortable with that. I don't do fermented foods for the birds.
Okay. Now, so what do you use to deworm, and where do you get it? I'm finding it rather tough to find medications in suburbia or in backyard quantities. How many chickens have you got?
Very tough. Pardon?
How many chickens have you got, Leanne?
An undisclosed amount. Technically it's 10, because that's the amount I'm allowed in my suburb.
And where are you?
I'm in Bramley. I'm in Bramley, Johannesburg.
Nice.
So it's more than 10, but technically it's 10, and there are roosters among them.
Well, you can
it's
brand
actually a
me
little bit
close
about-
enough to Alex, so don't worry about it.
Well, I know that's. I mean, I've heard chickens around here before, so I'm fine.
It's actually
the numbers
sorry,
go up and down because we do sometimes use them we do use any extra roosters we use for meat. So
and you're wondering about just deworming and things like that.
Yeah, I'm finding it, on a lot of the American forums, you see use this, use that, but I just can't find a lot of the stuff here, or I don't know where to go. So I was wondering if you know.
So you are 100% correct in terms of America being very progressive when it comes to backyard chicken keeping, in South Africa, not at all. We still very much have a different mindset around it. But if you are familiar, so I can only put you onto the Avian Vet in Bryanston. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, I've never been there, but I do know they are there. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of that's the only place that ever accepted my chickens. It's very cruelly located right next to Nando's. So I've always taken my birds in a closed bag so they didn't have to see.
You're so sweet.
That being said, though, they're little carnivores, guys. I don't eat chicken anymore. I stopped eating it when I got my first birds, but boy, they have no problem eating each other. That's for sure.
Yeah, they love chicken.
Ooh, a chicken with a chicken bone. So certainly, also both times I've received my chickens, they have been from farms, from formalized places, which means that they've done the deworming before I've even received them, because the farm is set up for that. And then from that point, though, I have used the Bryanston Avian Vet for any needs. Jupiter's had a camera down her throat.
Oh, shame, man. Is Jupiter still around?
What do you do? So Jupiter is still around, but she's not with me. Oh, it just breaks my heart. I just love those birds so much. But it's one of those cruel things. At the end of last year, my travel schedule was set to increase quite dramatically. And I was struggling because I was away for long periods of time. I was doing overseas tours and away for long periods of time. And, your usual places, chickens are not dogs and cats when it comes to pet care. And I was battling to find the right assistance. And then I did a full month in Japan in October, and my birds went to go and they went to stay. They went on a vacation farm in Fontainebleau, and they spent the month there. And when I returned from Japan, my schedule just got heavier and heavier, and I thought, I can't do this. I live on my own, so unfortunately I don't have someone to assist there. And so I gave the birds, you can see the lovely place where they're living now, to the same people who looked after them for me in October. I asked if they could take them over for me full time, which they kindly consented to. And I cannot tell you, I cried and I cried and I cried. I was heartbroken.
I'm sure you were. It's like having a dog or a cat. I
stopped going outside. I stopped going outside and going to my garden. I didn't garden. I just totally broke my heart. And this COVID landed on our laps.
Yeah.
And all of the travel that had been this big problem disappeared. The Olympics was cancelled this year. All of that, my facilitation work in Cape Town, all got cancelled. And so my life changed. And I was now at home and without birds. But I realized, and I would like to emphasize this to you guys, if you're thinking of getting chickens and you don't have them there yet, must consider the breed. It's so important. And when you know what you want your chickens for, you get the right breed to match that. Understanding your lifestyle and then understanding your purpose, and then the breed that matches that. I just believe that's really, really important. And what's so different with the Silkies is I literally put them in a bag and take them with me. Yes, I can.
But where do you take them with you to? I mean, where do you go?
So for example, I've got an auntie in Centurion, and I'll go and spend the day with her. And I just put the chickens in the bag in the car, and off we go to Centurion for the day, and then I put them in her garden.
And has she got cats or dogs or anything?
But a cat is not really a threat to a full-grown chicken. It is a threat to a chick, but not to a full-grown chicken. Generally, I speak generally. Dogs are much more problematic if they haven't been raised with chickens. So, you know, I can actually take the birds with me, and like now I'm going to KZN, I'm going to my sister's farm in KZN. I'll just put the Silkies in the back of the car and off we go, and we'll go. So I can manage a lot of small travel that I had to do. I can take the Silkies with me. And then also the cooks being a larger breed, they do need more space. You know, the smaller your garden, the less play space they have, and they need entertainment. You know, they're active, they're busybodies. They don't park off all day by any stretches of the imagination. So I also just, you know, again, perhaps it's my passion for the birds, but I would want them to be as free as possible. And so I just think, you know, considering the breed and your environment are just really, really important things to do.
Obviously, they know you so well, you don't have to chase them down when you want to leave or go anywhere.
Oh, I've trained my birds. They come when I call.
Like Pavlov, I mean, do you play a little bell or something?
Yes, I use mealworms.
Oh, I see.
So
I've dried mealworms
with mealworms. So also the funny thing about a Silkie, so you can see here, Jupiter's eye is completely clear, right? There are no feathers in her face. So eyesight is also the strongest sense of a chicken. Okay, more than taste, more than sound, their eyesight is most important to them. The Silkies, you could see, have got this going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can't see, so they can't jump up. Okay, a Silkie doesn't do this like that bird does. A Silkie does that.
Oh wow, so they don't
Yeah, they have to do that because the feathers stop their eyes from gathering the sight in front of them. So what I did with the Silkies, they can't jump up onto me, whereas my cooks could. The Silkies can't jump up onto me. So I trained them to climb onto my foot, and then I lift my leg, and then they'll walk along my leg and onto my thigh. But I trained them to do that, and now they've got it. I just go, whoop, buddy, whoop. And they'll jump up onto my shoe, and then I lift my leg, and then they'll walk along the leg onto my thigh.
Georgina, how big are they?
Well, it's sort of hard to show you.
Okay, so they're not big.
I haven't weighed them, but they don't weigh more than 400 grams maximum.
I wonder what they weigh cooked. That was a joke, Georgina. Sorry. I really want.
They're more feathers than anything else. The Silkies, they really are fluffy butts.
I'm vegetarian, so I don't really. I'm never going to eat my chickens. How long do they live for? What sort of average lifespan can we look at it for a chicken?
Gosh, so if they have no threats, so if there's no, nothing that's going to take them out, and you look after your birds well, they can live 12 years.
That's amazing. And how long do they lay chickens? How long do they lay eggs for?
So prolifically, they have about a 2-year laying period, which is why, although the whole battery chicken thing is so terrible because, they lay eggs for their 2 years, and as soon as their production goes down, they just, they're off to the slaughter, or I don't know what. Anyway, so yeah, they have about 2 years where they peak laying, and that's from pretty much after they start laying. So their initial period of laying is their peak, and then after 2 years they'll start to slow down, and then then the hens will certainly stop at a point in time, and they will just eat your food for you.
Oh, that's okay. They've done their bit.
They've worked hard, and they provide you with fluffy cuddles if that's what you like.
So let's see what it says here. When you get chickens, I've heard you can't get a rooster. Is that true? That's a bit of the noise and the neighbors, isn't it?
So the rooster issue is just dependent on where you are, okay? So I can only speak for Johannesburg City and New York City. So New York, you can have as many chickens as you like, it's just a by the by, but they're strict on their living conditions. Whereas in Johannesburg, we can only have 10 poultry, okay? And poultry includes ducks, turkeys, if you had a number of those. So it's not 10 of each, it's 10 in total of poultry. And in the Johannesburg city limits, no roosters are allowed. However, if you are living in Kyalami, it's not within the city limits of Johannesburg. You just have to confirm exactly where that limit is. In which case, but if you're in the city limits, there's no roosters, and you can keep up to 10 without needing a license. So actually, ironically, you can also get a license to have more birds, and you can have that in the city, but you must have a license. So you can have you can open up a chicken farm on your property if you want to. You'd have to get a license first though, and then there'd be an inspection, and as long as they think it's okay, you would get that license. So, it's just working within those restrictions. Yeah, and it only becomes a problem. I mean, like the lady in Bramley will know, it'll only become a problem if your neighbors complain about your rooster. But if your neighbors don't complain, yes, I believe so. I saw that.
Yeah, they've just had to rehome it. But people were saying that if you keep the rooster in a sort of dark box at night and you don't let it out until 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., I think that's cruel, though. I have an issue with that.
No, I mean, that's horrendous. I mean, why have a rooster? His whole purpose in life
is to crow,
is to look after his ladies and to get you up in the morning. I mean, but that is us coming from I'm sure, more animal friendly way. But yes, I certainly feel if you're going to hold up a rooster, why have one? But also, if you've got chickens, you will notice their natural clock is unbelievable. When the sun goes down, they go to bed, and when it comes up, they get up. And it is like clockwork. I find it absolutely amazing. So chickens are very vulnerable at nighttime. They can't see a thing. So they will go into their little roost for the night. That's it. Unless something gets in there and attacks them, you won't hear from them for the whole night. And then the sun comes up, and they get up. It's wonderful.
Yeah, mine at the bottom of the garden, you don't hear mine at all. And as you approach, you hear they start to go. Particularly the one.
She's got snacks.
I looked up the picture. They look a bit like bushvelders, man. I don't know if they are, but that's kind of what they look like.
Oh, they'll be speckled. If they're bushvelders, they'll definitely have speckles on them. They're beautiful bushvelders. I have pictures on my phone, but not on my laptop. But the bushvelder is lovely. Such an attractive bird, really.
Well, I don't know if mine are attractive. Mine are sweet. I mean, I suppose they'll look a lot better when their feathers grow back, because right now they look quite sad. They're getting there, though.
So also you'll find that when they are trying to grow feathers, they won't be laying so much. It's a bit of a, they need all of their energy to grow their feathers, which is why that laying reduces in winter, and certainly over molting, because they really shine.
So, what does it say here?
I can't find these bush
Colleen, my cats stay away from the chickens mostly. Sometimes they go sunbathe with the chooks too, but I have mainly Orpingtons, Brahmas, and Sussex, so big breeds. Okay.
Lovely. Yes, very nice. So yes, I mean, a cat's definitely not going to try and attack one of those larger breeds. There's just no way.
I think I was a silkie in my previous life because I also hate summer. Yeah, me too. Also sorghum. Mine love the green seeds before they fully dried out.
Nice.
What kind of veterinary care do they need? Do they go to the vet annually like other pets?
No. But at the same time, I do recommend that you save for when they do go. So simply because, well, I can speak for me, but you know, when you take a pet on board, you take an animal on board, you deciding to care for it. So like this lovely Jupiter in front of you, she had something infection in her throat. I could see that she wasn't eating. Now, if the bird can't eat, she's going to starve, right? So you take her off to the vet, and the vet naturally doesn't know what's wrong. And so she had an x-ray and they're like, oh, we can see something there, but we don't know. You know, maybe she swallowed a piece of wire. They don't really know. Let's put a camera down her throat. Now,
That's
you
adding
can
up.
say, no, don't do that because it's just a chicken. Or you fork out. So, you know, I paid 2,500 Rand for Jupiter.
And what was down her throat?
And ultimately, yeah, for the x-ray and for that and the medicine. And ultimately, I was the one who had to feed her an antibiotic by opening up her mouth. And, you know, again, they don't have the tongue to swallow, but you can drop a pull down the back of the throat, you know, and it caused me such trauma. I used to sweat. The bird and I, you know, we'd come away sopping wet, both of us. I was trying to get this pull down her throat. So they can take antibiotics if they have an infection. They'll take an antibiotic like any animal would. The weak point of chickens is their respiratory system. So you must always listen out for a wheezing of your hens or your birds. If there's a wheezing, you do want to get them to the vet, because that's a clear indicator they're not well, and that's weak. That's part of them is weak, and many of them will die from respiratory problems. So that is the main one with birds, and then the usual, you know, mites on their skin. But I also only find that if you've got hundreds of birds, if you've got a clean coop and a few birds, you know, urban chicken keepers, and they have a little space to dust path, you're not going to have a problem with things like mites and, you know, nasty things crawling on their skin.
Okay, now how do you clean a coop? Because chickens shit everywhere.
They do. I left. Okay, so in my time as a urban chicken keeper, I did a lot of research around coops. And my first coop, I put like that linoleum flooring.
Yeah.
I cut a piece the size of the coop floor and would put that in. And every day I took it out and washed it. It's a lot of work.
It is.
If you've got lots of chickens, you know, then that's a bit of hard work. So my second coop, and I still think this is brilliant. I built it so that the ground below them is open. So when they sit on their perch at night, they poop directly to the ground. Still got 4 walls, still got a roof, still got an egg-laying place, like a split level. But when they're sitting on their perch, they poop straight onto the ground. And then I can just take a rake under that and scoop that poop and scoop it around the garden. And then my third coop, which I have now, I've done the same thing. So they poop over a hole like a long drop from their perch. And then I just rake that.
How do your eggs not fall down there?
They don't, so this is where they're perching, where they sleep at nighttime. They don't lay on their perch. I have a laying box for them. So when you enter the coop, there's a floor with laying boxes.
Yeah.
And then the back part of the coop is where the perches are. So then they climb up onto the perch, and underneath the perch, there's the hole, not underneath the whole coop.
Okay, so that's interesting because mine, I've got shelving. There's like 3 layers of shelving, and on each shelf is a plastic crate that we've removed the side from, say the front, and put straw down, and then those are all packed onto these shelves. And then the one chicken definitely likes the one box because she lays her eggs in there. But I don't know where they sleep at night. I've never been in there at night. Maybe I should go in at night and have a look where they actually sleep.
Yes, so well, they will generally go for the highest spot, and you do want them to be able to perch, ideally, rather than sit flat, because then they'll sit in their poop.
Okay, that's interesting.
So ideally, you do want them, and about 4 centimeters in width is a great width for your perch. And then the birds, the girls who are at the top of the pecking order, they'll get the highest perch, and those who are at the bottom will get the lower ones. So you don't want to perch directly one above the other, because then that one poops on the one below, which is why they're always at that gradient. You know, that's the idea with having the one perch here, next perch there, next perch there. So you do want them to be able to poop away from themselves, which is why a perch at nighttime is better for them than sitting. That being said, silkies are a breed that sit. They literally try and get under each other. I've just trained mine to go onto a perch because I don't want them in their poop. But it's normal for silkies to huddle together, but other birds like the cooks, bushvelders, your buff orpingtons, all of those guys would go onto a perch.
Have you got pictures of your coops by any chance?
I'm sure I do. So the one I've got now is a small version. The one the cooks are in is a lovely large house on stilts. Let me see if I can perhaps find a. So do I have to reshare? Is that correct?
Yeah, reshare. You don't have to put this one.
I'll just show you. Where are we? Where is it? There. So this is the current coop in the making. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see my mouse when I do this?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the entrance, right? I put a little ladder in there. So you need to see the inside though, is what you're trying to see. That lid lifts up. I've got a laying box here, so there's floor here, but then the back of the coop, which you can see is higher. I've got a perch there and another perch there, and then here there's no floor here, so they'll poop directly onto the ground. Whereas here there is a floor, because there you can see the floor there, because I've got food in that corner and a laying box in this corner.
Okay, so that's for the 2 silkies. So it's quite a small.
That's for the 2 silkies. It's not big. I don't think I have for the larger ones on this particular laptop.
How much did that coop cost, as a matter of interest?
So cheap. The thing that cost me the most was buying lunch for the guy who made it for me. Honestly, I mean, he did me a favor because I lost my income at the start of lockdown, and he's quite handy. I think it's $427 or $487 I paid in the end, but we used scrap material. And then, you know, he had the right tools. Oh, people, if you're good with your hands, actually, I find that with chicken keeping, if you're good with your hands, that's really handy.
Practical.
They're quite a practical little pet, you know. You can make them a perch for the garden, and then, you know, and make them fun things to climb on, and a little swing, and those kind of things, like a shelf or entertainment. If you're good with your hands, that's really useful for keeping chickens. I lack the patience, so my stuff tends to be skew. I always do it, but it's skew. But Mo, this friend of mine, helped me make that. So it really didn't cost me, other than the food I bought for him, and a few screws and odds and ends and stuff. We used scrap material from his work. But I had the one that I had made for the cooks, which was 1.8 meters in height, and a 1 meter cube. But we had legs on it. It was on stilts. Then with a roof, also with a door and the ladder, and the same thing, a half a floor and half of it open for the perches. I paid, and I got a carpenter to make that for me, and it cost me about, what was it now? It's 2 years ago. He originally quoted me 800, but he didn't realize that it needed to be waterproof material because it has to stand outside, and I didn't specify that. So he made it with non-waterproof, and then we had to waterproof it with the right stuff on the outside and stuff. So that ended up costing more. I think I paid about 1,100 in the end. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. Mine's made from completely junk lying around the garden and stuff that we had. They don't have a closed coop at night. The whole thing is closed. But the area where they roost, it's got like shelter, so it's dark at night. And then they can come out of there, and it's got a floor as well. And then they can come out of there and go into the sunlight and everything in the enclosed area.
In their run as such. Yes, yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely need a little bit of dark space at nighttime, but that's to feel secure, because they're very vulnerable at night. They really are. They're extremely vulnerable. And they'll also, you know, unless it's baking hot, they'll huddle together, or they'll be together. And then also for laying, they do need a darker spot to lay, a little bit of privacy. I'm sure you've seen many chicken keepers out there with their little curtains over laying boxes. That's one way of doing it, but it does need to be a darker space. They'll never just lay out in the open. It's far too dangerous. So they will look for somewhere that's secluded, has some shelter, that's a little bit darker, in order to lay.
Oh, that's why she goes into the corner where the tree is and the...
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you do want to give them a spot. If you give them a spot, they will lay there. I must say, for the silkies this time, I didn't even need to show them. Boy, Russet knew straight away there was a laying box in there, and off she went. She didn't once lay in the garden. So I think she was quite aware already, because of sleeping in the coop. Oh, there's a space for me to lay there as well. And I've got a drawer with some straw in it. Nothing fancy.
Colleen, how long do you want to wait? Because that could take 6 months to a year, just by the way.
What does Colleen want to do?
She wants to ask Martin to make her one. You better ask his grandson to make. No, don't ask Martin. That would be a really, really bad idea.
So I think also that's the other thing to realize is chicken keeping is not cheap. So it's not something, yes, you're going to get eggs of which you can consume. And if you have 3 birds and you're a family of 5, you will eat all those eggs. You won't give any away. If you have 5 or 6 birds and a family of 5, then you'll have enough for you and you can give some away. But you'll always, unless you're farming, you'll only give them away. You're unlikely to sell them because it'll just be a few. Oh, here's a box of eggs. It's such a lovely thing to give away. Enjoy these fresh eggs. My friend started giving me egg boxes. I definitely noticed that. But it's not cheap in terms of having something like a coop. If you manage to put something together from scrap, that's great. If your birds get sick, it's the same process as a dog or a cat. You buy food for them, but you also love giving them treats. I mean, mealworms, $20 for 150 mealworms, fresh ones, live ones, here in Johannesburg. Pardon?
I put dried ones for mine. I bought a bag
Do you
of
get dried ones?
They look like Cocoa Pops. In fact, they almost smell like Cocoa Pops when you open the thing. It's quite disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the fresh ones from the Monkey Nursery there in Linden on the corner of
they got fresh ones
and First Avenue. Fresh 150 worms. It's up by 4 Rand. It was 16 Rand before lockdown, and now it's 20 Rand. 150 worms. They get them every Friday. They bring them in from a farm. I think it's in Lanseria, and that farm you can buy directly from if you have a lot of birds, because you can buy 500 mealworms, you can buy 1,000, you know, you can buy them in bulk.
Which poor sod do you think sits and counts them?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm sure they go on weight though, probably.
There's I mean, that's a shit. I mean, they make my skin
no,
crawl. Even the dried ones. Yeah, the dried ones make my skin crawl. I mean, live ones are going to be. But I go to Monkey.
I tell you, it's amazing what you can make a chicken do for a mealworm, though. They love them.
Yeah, well, I'll get them some. What about, I've seen people hang cabbages in their chicken coops in the runs and mealies so that they can peck at them when they want to.
Definitely. So those are also, if you do it like that, it's entertainment for the bird. It's something for the bird to do. So that's a boredom buster. Because, you know, the mealie moves as they try and peck it, and so it creates a bit of a work for the chicken. So if your birds are in a run, you definitely want to put in some boredom buster food, things like that, you know, where they can just peck at bit by bit throughout the day. If they run around in the garden, you don't need to, but I mean, if you give them a mealie anyway, it's great to leave it on the cob because it is also entertaining for them to try and pick it off.
The one other thing that I thought was fantastic, and I shared it on Jane's group, was a lady made a chicken feeder out of a bucket. And she drilled a hole in the bucket. In fact, I bought the pot to actually do that because I've got a bucket. And then they hang up and chickens peck at the thing to get food out, which I thought was a fabulous idea. And then it's safe from rats and things as well, which is a really brilliant idea. So I want to do that.
So this thing about rats comes up a lot. So depending on what you are feeding your chickens, a rat doesn't eat dried chicken mash. A rat will eat, or what you're putting in your compost. If you're putting meat in your compost, which some people do, I don't know why, but some do, a rat is going to come for that. But if you've only got vegetables in your compost, a rat's not going to come near it. And in my urban days, and I have had some fat rats. There was Herder Park on the other side here where people use it as a toilet. You know, they're rat deluxe. They never touch my chicken food, never go into my coop. So I don't know if there are more vicious rats out there.
They might,
you know, and you know, your New York rats are nastier than your Joburg rats. I've never ever had a problem with rats, and certainly not eating the chicken food that's for chickens. But now if I put a chicken bone in their coop and let them eat that and leave the bone in there, I'm sure a rat would come. Of course I don't do that. Well, I don't give them chicken bones anymore. Excuse me, I don't give them chicken bones anyway. But that kind of idea. So a rat is not attracted to the chicken feed. But certainly, depending on what you do give them, you just, be conscientious of that.
Can they jump over walls? I mean, how high can a chicken fly? That sounds like an oxymoron. Yeah. They jump, don't they?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. They most certainly can jump over walls. Not silkies, they can't jump. But your breed like a cook. So also if you look at the shape of a chicken, you will see some are more slender than others. Some are hippier. Okay, your hippier birds don't fly as well. But absolutely they can fly and they can jump.
Okay, so Colleen, you now know that mine live under chicken wire, so they're not going anywhere.
No. I'm trying to think of the height of my wall in my previous house where my cook got over the wall. Because they're curious. They want to see the world. A chicken, if you don't enclose it, a chicken can walk 3 kilometers in a day, hey? So they're rovers. They want to see what's out there, and they want to look for the next bug or treat. Where's it going to come from? So they certainly can. If you're not against the clipping of wings, clip their wings. It doesn't hurt them. It does prevent them from being able to jump or fly too far or too high. But I suppose that is a personal preference. I have clipped the cook's wings before because I lived on Conrad Drive, and once I realized my birds could get over the wall, interestingly enough, only 2 of them ever did it. So I only ever clipped the wings of 2 birds, not all of the birds, because some just didn't.
Leanne, before we end it, won't you tell us a little bit about your chicken keeping? Because you sound like you do it as an industry.
I'm sure. Yeah, I started with the 3 that everyone think that sort of seems like the normal amount of chickens, and then and then they went broody. So then I thought, oh, and I just said, those red farm chickens, like the normal farm chickens.
Yes.
And they went broody. And then, so I then got some heritage eggs from someone and put them under, and then it's just kind of fed into what's becoming a larger and larger obsession with the chickens. And my favorite at the moment is I've got a pair of Splash Orpingtons that are just the most exquisite birds.
Awesome.
But the girl is big. You were talking about the hippie chickens. This is a hippie girl. She's got a proper fluffy butt.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
I keep them more as livestock than as pets. They're mainly for eggs, and they're great fun. Actually, tonight I saw that my Bushvelder and one of my other mixed breeds have managed to get out of the coop, and they found another tree that they are now roosting in. And the other day we found a stash of, I think, 30 eggs behind our electricity box, because the man came to read the meter, and as he went to open it, out flew a chicken. And we realized why we had to keep getting eggs, because they were all there.
Yeah, they hide the eggs, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And totally. If they have a favorite laying spot, which is the purpose of egg laying boxes, is essentially to avoid what's happening there, is that you don't know where the eggs are. So if you can train the chickens to lay in one particular place, when they do that, they do that. They're very religious about doing the same thing over and over again, as the electricity box found out for you, hey?
My husband made the most beautiful, gorgeous woodwork laying boxes for them, and there are a couple of them will lay in it, but the rest of them are like, no, I'll use this electricity box or this random thing under a bush. So, but it's like Easter every day.
Yes. And I think that's actually one of the fun parts of raising chickens, is that there isn't a one way. There's no best way. And as much as personality as they have and you have as the chicken keeper, you create this interesting little environment, in your own back garden. And I think that's so wonderful. I really enjoy that part.
Yeah, and you mentioned the roosters eating them, having them for meat. Who gets that shit job?
I have done it myself, but I don't like the plucking. So it's whoever wants to. It's generally whoever wants to eat said bird can do it themselves. One of the main reasons I got chickens in the first place was that I couldn't stand the thought of eating eggs from a battery farm, and so that's kind of extended into if I do use any of them for meat, I know that they've had an incredibly happy, comfortable, healthy life. They've never had their beaks trimmed or anything like that. They've got treats. They've eaten. You know, they've lived. I've got a very large run, and which they always escape and eat my vegetables anyway. But you know, they have this wonderful life, and we are very careful and considerate about slaughtering them when we need to. And so to me, that kind of makes more sense than going to Woolworths and eating going to Pick and Pan, a battery chicken. I think if you're a meat eater, there are more and less ethical ways to do so.
Okay. Last question: where do you clip their wings?
Find it? Sorry?
Where do you clip their wings?
You mean literally the part of the wing?
Yeah, and what part of the wing do you clip?
So you can see quite clearly if you look at the wing of a chicken, the bottom half of it is easier to see. There are two layers of feathers. This first layer is the wing, okay, and those feathers are attached to the wing flesh, muscle, the whole thing. The second part of the wing sort of clips into here. Okay, it clips into here. These feathers you can cut. Do not cut these ones. So you'll see when you look at a wing, it is quite distinctly divided, and there's this lot of feathers here, sort of clips in here, and these ones you can trim all along here, snip those ones off, that's not a problem. But you don't want to touch this base of feathers. Does that make sense? There's
Yeah, it
like
does make
two
sense.
parts of a wing.
I don't want to do that at all.
So
that
yeah,
sounds
these ones, these ones haven't clipped into muscle or meat as such. They've clipped into the wing, whereas this part is clipped into the flesh of the bird. So you don't cut these ones, but you can cut these and they don't feel a thing.
Oh, no, I don't know if I can. I still
Silkies
don't know if I can do
comb.
that. And what's your comb for?
This is for the silkies. For salon. For the silky salon. So I do this and then snip. So silky feathers, you could see how fluffy they were. That feather is not clipped into anything. You can trim a silky's feathers. But with the other birds, you must be careful. If they've pinned into the skin, don't touch them.
Okay. You were going to ask Leanne a question before I interrupted you so rudely. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to say how great are fresh eggs. Bright yolks.
I can't actually go back to eating that horrible cruelty-filled eggs. I just can't, and they don't. Yeah, shop eggs don't taste like eggs.
No.
It's a bright
and the thing that also I never realized. Sorry, I didn't catch you at the end there.
I'd never been able to make a proper water poached egg until I had fresh eggs and realized that actually it's all about the freshness. If they've just laid it this morning, you can't go wrong.
That's what I was just about to say. It's the freshness that one doesn't realize. You can eat an egg in the store a month after it's being laid.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So that fresh, the freshness aspect is unsurpassed. So exactly that, the fresh egg, the yolk takes up more of the egg. There's more yolk, less white. And you also know, also the thing that I like in the cycle is you know what you fed them. So that's what's in your egg.
Okay, and it's no yolking matter.
Plain and simple. That's what's in your egg.
Well, it's been absolutely fabulous. Colleen, good luck with that. I'm not coming to help you clip them. Maybe Peter will. But anyway, ladies, it's been wonderful. Georgina, it's been fabulous. Leanne, thank you for your input. Colleen, thank you for your questions. Everybody else, it's wonderful to chat to you. What are we discussing tomorrow night? Oh, we're speaking to Andrew Anderson, and we're discussing, he's an ex-game ranger, and he's now in conservation and education and travel. So that's what we are doing. So join us tomorrow evening, same time, chat to Andrew Anderson about what he does. Other than that, Georgina, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. But can you just, how many people are here who are here today have chickens?
Me, Lee.
I want to get.
Was that Colleen wants to get?
Yes.
That's 3 out of the 10 of us.
I want.
Yeah.
I also want to get Lana.
Lana wants to get. Martin's got. Okay, so it's 50%.
Okay. All right. Well, spring is the time, you know, if you want chicks. So yeah, just quickly before we end, so Mandy's spoken to you about her birds also being a bit older. It'll take much more time to be able to train them, for lack of a better word, if that's what you're wanting. Whereas if you get chicks, you will handle them much more as small little birdies, and they will be much more accustomed to you. So that's just a simple way. If you're going to rescue birds, you get them a bit older, and it might take more time. If you get chicks or new chicks, they will really look at you as their mama. You know.
Do they need attention, chicks? I mean, like, what kind of attention do they need? And will the older chickens pick on them?
They do. If you've got a broody hen, she'll look after them. But you wouldn't put your baby chicks in the coop with your big girls straight away. No. You must keep them separate. So
Okay.
you keep chicks for a good 4 weeks with just each other and you. You know, actually in your home or in your garage or, you know, wherever was appropriate, but you wouldn't keep them with the hens. The hens will sort them out.
Okay, so we won't be getting I'll be rescuing some more chickens. I've got the guy's phone number, so I'm going to phone him and ask him to bring me another sort of 7 chickens or so.
Like my greatest... I just wish I could use all of Helder Park and just get all the abandoned and abused chickens, you know? I've got this tiny little yard for my silkies and I just want to open a door to the park and let the birds in.
Well, good luck with that, Georgina. Thank you so much.
You.
Everybody have a great evening. It's been fabulous. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thanks. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.